Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 166 of The Grove Podcast now. Thank you for listening and I hope you're all doing well. Well, if you take Arsenal out of the equation, that is anyway. Because that exactly didn't go according to plan yesterday, did it? And our hate affair, there's no love with this competition, with the League Cup continues. And what a time to put in your worst 45 minutes of the season. So still no cup for this team in 6 years. The quad is off, and all we're left to play for is the treble. Woe is us. Anyway, in today's pod, we're going to look back at that 2-0 defeat to City, trying to figure out what went wrong and what it might mean for the rest of the season. We, of course, have to do a bit of laughing at Tottenham in our relegation watch feature, as we do need something to cheer us up a little bit. And then we'll take a quick scan at the international break, see what people are up to. Well, if anyone's going, given today's news, which is all good around the international break. Anyway, joining me today to find the light at the end of the tunnel is friend of the pod, Dr. Andrew Mitchell, or as we know him, Mitch, who's been on the pod a couple of times to help us make sense of our various Arsenal injury crises, as he's a British academic specialising in sports science and biomechanics, as well as being a lifelong Arsenal fan. But he's not here to talk about that today. Mitch, how are you? And how are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, recovering after yesterday. I think as you get slightly older, you do learn to try and take it on the chin a bit more and not let it ruin the entire week or longer than that.
No,
but yeah, we'll talk about the game, I'm sure. But it was unrecognisable, really, for me for the Arsenal yesterday.
Yeah, it was a tough watch, and I wonder if these sort of games where you can see the slow death, you sort of getting used to defeat early on, is better. Like taking away the manner of defeat, but it's better than a last-minute winner for the opposition where you just the what if and the anger is there. But we'll see. But actually, I'm more interested in your experience of the Carabao Cup Final. You experienced it slightly different to most of us Arsenal fans, either being at home or like myself being there. So yeah, how was your day?
Yeah, so I'm a season ticket holder, and I went into the ballot and wasn't successful in the first ballot, the follow-up ballot, and then the really tiny, I think 100 fans got some tickets right at the end there. So I was looking, trying to find a ticket, and then a friend of a friend got me a ticket, 300 quid, but it was in the wrong end. That same ticket, using the same website in the Arsenal end, was 900 quid. But a friend of a friend got me a ticket, but it was in the away end. So, and again, on my own, I've sat in the wrong end of football stadiums across the world. I've done San Siro, Nou Camp, Bernabeu, and most recently Kenilworth Road during the infamous 4-3 win. And obviously, you just have to be sensible and respectful of the situation. We've probably all done it. But even leading up to it, I met some buddies beforehand and we had some food and then got out the tube and then suddenly it's there, you know. But that whole time until I was in the stadium, I wasn't sure if the ticket, because it's all touted, was going to be legit. You scan. I'm looking over the guy's shoulder in front. His ticket looks similar on his phone to me. Mine was a screenshot of an Apple Wallet ticket. So you're still not sure. But once I got in, I'm like, oh crap, I'm in now. This is good. And then I was joking with people beforehand, but you have to have a backstory, because people are straight away going to say, you know, are you blue? And you have to have something to say. So I'd kind of worked out what I was going to say. And then seats were good. It was all good before kickoff, wasn't it? It was just after the facts all went downhill. But no, I kept safe. I was sensible. I did make friends, in inverted commas, with the guys around me. The guy to my right was over from Norway. He's a Haaland fan. Wasn't really City. He was more Haaland. Yeah. The guys to my left was a dad and a son, and then two more old school. So the whole role I was on was old school, pre-115 City, so less recent bandwagon types. Mm-hmm. But again, you still have to convince them that you're local, because at least in my section, I saw 8 separate Arsenal fans get chucked out. Because as soon as you let them know you're Arsenal, they're even kind of like middle-aged ladies, kind of mums and nans, were shouting and getting the security to chuck them out. And if they weren't leaving, and the next level of security come up, you've got a different high-vis jacket, and then after even in the conference, I saw it kicking off as well. Not fighting per se, but just arguing and stress and police surrounding people. So yeah, I was kept my mouth shut. It's difficult to watch your team concede right below you, because obviously it's at our end, that first goal, and then both goals, and then not react the way you want to react is a tough watch, right?
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you're right. I've done it a couple of times. Less high profile games, and rather you than me, I'm just not sure I could do that for a final, because like if anything happens, you suddenly get outed and stuff like that. But well done you for getting there. Shame. It's one of these odd ones. Sort of the result sort of worked out in your favour, because had it potentially been a last minute winner the other direction, that could have been
there was
something.
very little that the Arsenal did that would make me want to out myself. It was mostly me kind of just shouting and clapping at the appropriate times when it looked like you could be clapping for either team.
Yeah, and and like me, when I went to Brentford this year, I hope you remembered to stand up when City scored, because I almost forgot at Brentford to stand up, and it was like, very, very weird. But there you go. Look, it's all part of life's experiences, shall we say? And as I said, I'm glad you came out of alive. I mean, my experience of the City fans was just getting the train home. They were all. I thought I'd left it long enough or early enough or whatever it was, but no, that my train was all City, and I was so grateful for my headphones, and I just ramped the headphones up as loud as I possibly could to drown out their singing. But look, hey, I'm not one to get annoyed. They deserved it. As I said, it's not like a victory that they didn't deserve. So I couldn't be angry at them or annoyed at them. And I was actually chatting to a couple of them on the train, just like, where the hell did that performance come from? And they're going to be, we don't know. So I think they were as shocked as we were. But before we get on to the match itself, would you prefer to have lost to Palace in pens in the quarterfinals back in December? Was it worth it?
I think there's something about continuing momentum. From a sports psychology viewpoint, I'm not sure of the research around that more recently, but I think maybe that would have done more damage to get knocked out by a team like that. But you could argue, hindsight's easy, isn't it? Because you can say, we'd have had a bit more time off, two less games against Chelsea, which are kind of high intensity games. But I think I always maybe naively want to stay in all of the tournaments as long as possible. In my mates and I WhatsApp group, one of them's constantly saying, I don't care about anything else, just want the Prem, don't care. And I can't compartmentalize, which is a term I use a bit later when we chat about some other stuff, but I can't compartmentalize certain matches and just say, oh no, screw that, we'll bin that, I'm not bothered, because I want Arsenal to win every single match, whether it's a pre-season friendly against some all-star MLS team in the summer. I just can't step away from wanting us to win every game. So how about you? What do you think? Would you have accepted that or taken that?
It's a perennial debate. It's more the approach, but then you continue to approach, and there's the impact. So again, we approach the Carabao Cup as we always done. I recognise the chance to play squad players, to give fringe players, to give youth a chance. But then do that all the way through, is because it's the knock-on effect. It's that perennial thing, but you can't turn your nose up in a trophy. And you're right. Had we won yesterday, and look, once you get to the semi-finals, you're all in.
Yeah,
and you want to win it because again, going out to Chelsea, going out our home to Palace, I could have taken it. Would have been a bit annoying, but whatever. You get over it pretty quickly. In a way, losing to Chelsea in the semis would have been worse than what happened yesterday. I think for me, because. Well, it's Man City, and to your usual word, you can compartmentalize Man City into different sort of bracket of other things, and it's just, and I hate Chelsea with a passion. So but once and then I was all in, up for the 4 trophies. You want to win it, etc. But in a way, it's a odd one, because in no other European league there's only 3 main competitions, or 2 main comps, and then you've got Europe. So it's just a bit of an outlier, and I'd be happy if the Carabao Cup turned into this tournament just for teams that aren't playing in Europe and the rest of the league. Yeah. So, but it's that perennial debate, and it's the knock-on effect and what it means, and we don't know what this will mean later, and we will discuss that later. But it's maybe not one to discuss now, but it's always an interesting one. And we're going to talk about it next year, after a year afterwards. But in a way, let's play the fringe players throughout, and then we've just got that solid foundation there of it. But I think because of where we are at the moment, because of the trophy drought, so to speak, I think that's why we went a bit big. So and look, in this, and we don't actually have a great record in this. I think we've lost each of our last 4 League Cup finals. We've also had like those defeats to Birmingham, which was painful, to Luton, which was painful, the last Man City one, which was painful. This was painful. It's funny in contrast to the FA Cup. I think it goes like Arsenal won 7 FA Cup finals and lost 4 League Cup finals. I think it's something like that. And it's just, and we've only won 2 of our last 9 League Cup finals. Whatever it is, we just got a terrible record in finals in this tournament. It just doesn't seem to be the one for us. But let's see. It's over now, and let's see what happens next year. And in terms of the game, I think the first major talking point of the day, and in the build-up was around the the lineup, the formation, and look, before we get on to Kepa, which is the bigger one, I think we already knew Odegaard would be out. Timber being out wasn't a shock, but the big news of the day was Eze being ruled out a couple of hours before kickoff. And what did you make of that? And what did you then make of the team that he put out as a result of the injury? So we went with Kepa, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Hincapié, Zubimendi, Rice, Havertz, Trossard, Saka, Gyökeres. Yeah. What did you make of that?
Yeah. So obviously gutted that we couldn't have Odie on the bench. I think he offers us something no one else in the squad does. Timber, I've still got issues with that because he hurt his groin. The day he hurt himself, then carried on playing. Muscles don't heal themselves in 10 minutes during a football match. They only get worse. So I'm still annoyed at that. The Eze thing, I didn't find out about Tabs because I was at, for the last few hours before the game, I was eating with friends over in Finchley Road. And as soon as you get near the stadium, you're kind of not looking at your phone. People are talking about stuff, but I didn't hear it. And then as soon as you get in the stadium, it's like being in biblical times. There's no signal. I was trying to change my phone settings to 4G. 3G wasn't even an option, to just try and get a text message out. I couldn't get it out. The only thing I could do is actually call people. So I didn't know until an hour before kickoff that when we got the teams that Ebbs wasn't playing. And then you kind of think, then you remember back to when he sat down for the substitution. But I thought that was classic Arsenal at the time, although we had a long run and he just for that. But I thought that might have been a sit down, we need to bring the subs on. So gutted because it suddenly means you don't have that same creativity. Kai offers us something that no one else does, but I don't necessarily think it's an OD/Ebbs equivalent by any chance. And then suddenly you then even look at the bench and you're like, actually, if we even got any creativity on the bench, you could come on and do something centrally like that. And I'm looking at the subs again now and I'm kind of thinking, well, not really. So suddenly I felt, with any cup final, I always say to whoever I'm with, or in this case it's to myself, I just want the Arsenal to turn up. But you want them to turn up and kind of give their best. But as soon as I saw that the squad and then the bench as a result of the guys being out, I was kind of thinking, well, we're going to need some of the other guys who've maybe been a bit off form to step up and be the creative types, because the one who's been on form has been Ebbs recently. And then you're kind of hoping that someone else steps up and fills that creative chasm or hole, because it didn't look particularly, especially the way City play, it didn't look like there was going to be anyone there who's going to make a kind of a line-breaking pass or do something that those kind of players could do. So to be honest, I was worried, maybe the wrong word. I was a little bit nervy about that lineup. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's more about how we dealt with it, and I think we were missing that attacking unpredictability and progression. So with no Odegaard, no Eze, lacking that technical ability in the middle of the field, and even with Madueke on the bench, we were just missing something there. So I felt we really had to start Calafiori. Sticking with Hincapié there, bit of a safe choice. Look, he's been brilliant, he's been great, but he's predictable in what he does up and down and stuff like that. Calafiori at the beginning of the season was that unpredictable character. He, and you saw as soon as he came on what a different of an attacking thrust he provided from left back, how much of a difference he made. And I just felt, if you don't have Eberechi Eze in there and you don't have Odegaard in there, you need, and haven't got Madueke, who's just he's he tries and tries again, doesn't always come off, but at least he's there and he's a threat. That to me was a bit. You should be starting with Calafiori there, and I think, and then especially with Calafiori, and then what happened is Hincapié gets that yellow card, a ridiculous yellow card, and then he was sort of hamstrung, not literally in your sense, for the rest of the game, because he couldn't really take any risks, and he couldn't be too out of position trying to get back. So and then with that, Havertz was the natural choice in midfield, and we know how good he is, but this is at Wembley, playing in midfield, a big game. In a big pitch, there's a lot there to get, and you could just see, that he just hasn't got. He didn't have the legs for that game, for that day, for the opposition we were playing, and you compare how brave City were, playing only really with two midfielders, Silva and Rodri, and they had the four attackers, Doku, Haaland, Semenyo, and Cherki, which and so on. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't to know that lineup, but it just felt he missed the trick there from there. So, but you trust the players you have, and you trust the subs to make a difference. And I guess what made his life easier, that everyone else was able to play, because otherwise he was going to have to make some other decisions about who to leave out. But the biggest talking point was, of course, Kepa in goal. Yeah. Now we in the preview pod, I think Jamie and I both landed on the fact that we thought Kepa would start. And Arteta said post-match he's played all the competition, and I think it would have been very, very unfair for him and for the team to do something different. We are guided by what we've seen and what he's done in the competition, and he helped us go all the way through here. I believe it's the right thing to do, and that's it. Errors are part of football, and today it happened, unfortunately, in a crucial moment. So I guess it's easy to analyse in hindsight. But should have Arteta remained loyal to his second choice keeper, who's only been at the club 9 months, potentially sacrificing first trophy in 6 years, full squad harmony? Should he be ruthless? Is there room for sentiment? The fact there was only the Carabao Cup. Yeah, what were your thoughts pre and during and post on the Kepa Raya debate?
Yeah, I presumed that he would play Kepa. I wanted Raya. That was the one thing that was going across all the chat groups I was in, and Arsenal mates all over the world saying, who would you start? Who do you think he'll start? And everyone was saying they would start Raya and that Mikel would start Kepa. I get it to a point, but then I also, it's the first chance for us to win trophies, you mentioned, for a long time. And I get it about squad harmony, but we've all played sport. Well, we've all played sport, I guess, at different levels. Would I put over my passion and my commitment and my enthusiasm to win a trophy over someone else's feelings, who's only been at the club less than a season? We do have a knack of kind of turning over our backup goalkeepers. I only said backup goalkeepers quite often. So it's not like he's an Arsenal boy come through the academy and we're about to ruin him by not giving him the chance after giving him the whole tournament. I'm still scarred by sitting in a really dodgy pub somewhere in Islington, no disrespect to the pub, when Per Cech was goalkeeper for the Europa League final, and that we had the same discussion leading into that, didn't we? And then the next 2 days later, he signed for Chelsea or whatever.
He signed for Chelsea, but he ended up being the Chelsea.
He went back to Chelsea as a coach.
Yeah.
What I don't really get is, normally isn't Arteta super ruthless, and doesn't he not normally take people's sentiments into consideration? He was talking about doing substituting goalkeepers, which he's never actually done after he mentioned it. But a few other players got a lot more game time in this tournament leading up to the final, and then didn't start. So he went with his best left back. He didn't go with Miles. He went with, in his mind, the best two midfielders. He didn't say Odegaard. So I kind of think it's inconsistent, and I get it for the whole, you don't want the team to think you've broken a promise. What I don't we don't have the details of is when they have a gentleman's a contract. Do they have a gentleman's agreement to say you will play the final if we get there? And if that's really what it's about, the guy's got honour and he stood by it. I just think when you're signing backup goalkeepers, I would say all the tournaments are yours. So FA Cup and League Cup until we get to final. I've got to pick my best 11. Arteta has a commitment and a responsibility to the owners of the club, but also millions of fans all over the world. And to not want to just upset one guy, I don't really get it. And I'm normally like a softie, so I get that approach. But it's a final, and I don't necessarily think that. For me, it isn't just about a single mistake or one or two mistakes or the yellow card. It's the assured approach and calming influence that David Raya has to our defence that I think we were missing. I was nervous when the ball was coming back to me. It was drifting back towards Pear with the ball at his feet days, and I want to keep picking up Pear. But I was nervous, and when Kepa came running out, I thought he was going to just take the guy out and he was going to be a red. Like he looked, because I was right above and behind that, it looked just so unstable and unconfident. And so for me, I'm going with Raya every day.
Yeah, I mean, I understood it. I wanted Raya, but I can understand it. And look, there's multiple levels to this. So in terms of let's pick out the culture thing, and because I think it's part of Arsenal's culture. We are a club that look after the human side of football of footballers, and I like that. And we've been there when there's been a rotten culture and how destabilizing that can be. And sort of what message are you putting out? You know, if you have the wrong culture there, but then also you have the culture of winning and the there's that element there. But I think it maybe is a short-term pain for long-term gain, because if you have the right culture there, you can build success on that culture, and then maybe once, it's a tough one. I can understand it. Didn't like it. You're right, that ruthlessness in Arteta, but then again, you've got to honor what you said, and you can't just say one thing and then another. So maybe you're right. If you have the agreement, you say it's up to the final, and then after that, it's the best team. And thank you for getting here. You're part of it. You're very well remunerated. You're part of that success, and so on. And look, players can play badly in one game. Players can make mistakes. And my issue was not the mistake that led to the goal, which that just can happen. Raya's not exactly been. Raya's had his moments. Wolves away being one, and a couple recently. Look, even against Leverkusen in or Everton, it was, comes flying out, misses the ball, and the ball flies off Saliba's leg over the bar. Yes. So it can happen, but it was more about his ability with the ball. Raya is not only a brilliant keeper defensively, but he's integral to how we play out from the back. He begins our attacks. He finds players in tight spaces. And without him, we're just not as good. And we're hoping it's not going to be an issue. But City thrived on that weakness and they exploited it. And Kepa is not... He can play with the ball at his feet. But, if Raya's a 10 out of 10, Kepa's a 6 out of 10. So you're already sort of starting with one hand tied behind your back or whatever. And that's really where the issue lay. And City pounced on that. The way they had the four players, they did not fall for the press. They did not fall for the bait. They just stood there, blocked the passing lines, and Kepa goes, "Well, I'll give it to you, Gabriel." And I said, "Oh, thanks." I've got a really good goalkeeper with his feet to get it. And it was just, and that's where all our issues sort of stemmed from. We couldn't get out. We could not control any ball, and City just grew in confidence. Now, these guys have got, unless they go long. And that wasn't working, then or to a certain extent, then it's an issue. And people say, well, City play Trafford in comparison, but then City have won the cup numerous times, and they can be that flexible and stuff like that. So
he was signed as a first string goalkeeper as well. He wasn't signed as a backup as well.
No, exactly. Yeah,
there was that moment when Kepa just had the ball at his feet. How, I don't know if you have the same thing, but when Ben White or some of our other players take too long over throw-ins, I know there's a reason for them doing it. It does make me uncomfortable. But when Kepa had the ball at his feet, I'm interested to go back and just time it. Because City just said, well, we're not moving. We're standing here. You move around us. We're standing here. And it wasn't, I felt like that was a sign of his maybe inability or discomfort to make a slightly tougher pass to get the ball through that first line of the four City players. I feel like when Raya does that, it's he's waiting and the players move. And I know a lot of people talk about, you can tell how good players think other players are because they move for them and they give them balls in difficult situations. I felt like from where I was sat, I was right above his head when he was holding on to the ball for what felt like 30 seconds. I don't know how long it was. I didn't feel like that, apart from the two centre halves, I didn't feel like many people were making runs to give him an option. I don't know if you could see that from your end or whether you've watched the playback. It looked like everyone was just kind of going, oh shit, it's not really working, is it? And no one was really working for him. So it was making it look even worse because he was just stood there with his foot on the ball.
Yeah, I felt like Zubimendi maybe had been hiding behind City players because he didn't want to be put into trouble, and that maybe White and whoever's playing left back could have dropped back a bit deeper. The wingers could have dropped back just to give him some options to get out, and then that's it. But yeah, you're right. It was sort of like either Gabriel or Saliba, and Saliba was stellar yesterday, and it was left to them, and they did their best. But I think. Yeah, so I think we could have helped it. Again, is that on the players or is that on Arteta? You know, is Arteta saying, right, you guys, you need to do this, and maybe also if it wasn't working, Raya maybe goes down. Oh, my hip. Oh, my hamstring. Yeah. Goes down. Right, everyone over to the bench, have a chat with Arteta. Maybe Kepa should have done that. But yeah, I mean, look, had we won and all the rest of it, no one would be talking about it. Well done, Arteta. Well done, Kepa. Club harmony, hurrah! But didn't happen, and that was a risk he was prepared to take. Now, I think maybe it's the Carabao Cup, so that has something to do with it. And this sort of then leads me on to the final question on Kepa is, barring injury, will Kepa play again this season after that performance? Our next game is literally Southampton away in the quarterfinals of FA Cup. Does he play in that one, or does he basically that's it? That's your season over?
I think Arteta plays him because it's
even after 2 weeks of international breaks, and Raya doesn't play for Spain. He might get a few minutes, but he might get one game.
I think Arteta, almost because otherwise he contradicts himself a little bit. Like, he's my cup keeper. You can't suddenly now say one error, I'm not playing him, because when David's made mistakes in the league, he's had a few, not loads at all. Best keeper in the league, most clean sheets, etc. But when he's made a single error or two, he hasn't been benched the game after. So I feel that Arteta's going to stick with Kepa. I've got a question for you. Imagine we get to the FA Cup final against City.
He plays Raya.
Arteta does the same thing.
Well, so basically, because like what we just said before, a lot of the issues were with him passing out the back. Now he gives them one more chance against Southampton, but will they do the same job? It's down to the rest of the team also to help Kepa. Is there something we change structurally? But I think if we've won the league, if we're in the sort of final of the Champions League, then maybe he gives it to Kepa. But no, I think he can call it out, not because of a mistake. No, but because of what he doesn't offer from a build-up perspective, and and that's how he can justify it. So it's not the mistake, it's that. So, and I think and look, this is one of our traits, is Arteta learns from things. We're always learning. He's always learning. This is still his first job. We keep forgetting that, and this is his first proper final. Like, it feels weird. The COVID final, that's a proper final as well, but it sort of doesn't count in a way. There was a huge, well, even there was pressure back then, so maybe not. I don't know, but But he learns, so then maybe he's going to learn from this and say, fuck that. Right, I'm going to no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Exactly.
And deal with it. But we'll see. But that'll be a really interesting decision. It'll be interesting how that pans out. And because again, if you don't play him against Southampton, and then you do need to call on Kepa, what does that say? And if you do play him and he's like a bit shaky, then we know what we're like as fans. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. And thankfully, I don't have to make that decision. So, look, as for the game itself, I often go through some stats. Like, we could see City clearly had majority of possession, 62-38. They had 1.5 xG to our 63.63. 10 shots each. I can't remember us taking 10 shots, to be honest. 4 on target to their 2, and they got their 2 goals. We missed 3 big chances. Again, I'm struggling to know what they are. But this is the one telling stat. Accurate passes. We had 258 at a 78% success rate. City had 476 at 87% success rate.
That's
And
great.
that just tells a huge story in terms of, how the game was controlled, how it was managed by one team over another, who had the technical security, who was able to receive the ball, play the ball. It's just a complete.
From time to time, you see Arsenal play against a team and the other team will have a few more passes, but that's just because Arsenal pin them into their own third.
Yeah, it's normally defensive passes, yeah.
Yeah, but in this situation, that's... Yeah, what did you think of the overall performance? Were you positive initially? Because initially it wasn't a bad start, was it?
No, well, this is the thing. I thought the first 20 minutes, I thought, we're pretty good here. We started brightly. Yeah. Havertz had that chance. Maybe a sharper Havertz takes it earlier. He just hesitated, and by that time, Trafford's out quick, and he's practically smothered. Gets the rebound. But our tactic was clear, and I think with Havertz, with Gyökeres, with Saka, you could see this was going to be it. We were going to try and bait them in, and then go long. And I think it was sort of working in the first 20 minutes, and we were. We're winning some duels. We were going long. We were going fast. There was one moment when, Kepa rolls out quickly to Rice, and we were sort of, and it's okay. And then after that, and my one worry was, can we keep this up for 90 minutes? With this team, with some of the way the players are we? Is it a bit of a rope-a-dope? Our City just saying, right, both physically and mentally, this is a massive game for them. And I know this is not the same City of old, but as a club, they've been there. They know how to manage these games. Pep's been there. Are they just like, let them run themselves stupid? We'll just manage this. Because other than the Havertz chance, we didn't really create much. There was a lot of maybe stuff going on, but we didn't create much, and then literally after that, fairly even first half. And then look, the second half, we all know that it was just sort of like, just terrible, just downhill. We just couldn't get the ball. City was dominated, press, push, and the goals were inevitable. So, I don't know. How did you? I say apart from Saliba and Gabriel, no one played that well. Look, Haaland was quiet, and I think we sort of did a goodish job overall, but then we also were pretty crap. It's simple as that for me.
Yeah, I mean, we kept Haaland. I don't have Haaland's stats in front of me, but I thought we kept him pretty quiet. He didn't look as... I wasn't as worried about him when he got the ball to feet as I've been in previous games. I felt like something was missing. I don't know what it was. That it wasn't the normal Arsenal kind of brave tempo, 1 and 2 touch. I think there was a hesitation a lot, and players were taking an additional touch. I don't think they realised that City were going to play with kind of like a 4-2-4 formation. And I felt like, at least from where I was sat, it didn't feel like we had an obvious adjustment to it. A few people have said that 1 or 2 slight adjustments were made and they'd noticed kind of different movement from kind of maybe Bukayo Saka or whatever. But I didn't really see it to have made any difference in what I thought we were doing. And normally normally you can tell when Arteta's made a difference or made a tactical change, and then it's made a difference. From where I was sat, it really didn't feel like that. And then the second half just felt like, I think, is that the worst half of the season, second half, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we just had nothing. I mean, look, fair play to City. They sussed us out and they turned us over. Good one. They outplayed us. It was out tactic, out fought, outscored, out everything. And it was just, I was fairly confident at half time. So, okay, nothing brilliant. We've got this. They've not threatened much. City normally, the thing is, it was so unexpected because recently City have been pants in the second half of games. You look at them, equalisers against Brighton, equalisers against Forest, equalisers with Chelsea. They've been vulnerable. So I was like, okay, as I was saying before the game, just as long as we're in it about 70 minutes, this game's ours. Because they fade away, and then it was just, it was just something just out of the blue, and maybe that caught Arteta by surprise. I think he delayed his substitutes. Again, Calafiori should be on at half time because it was just clearly missing. We just didn't have anyone we were just too passive as well, and we just didn't have, as I said, that unpredictability, that bit of chaos, that creativity there. We were just too passive, too afraid to, maybe that was a mental thing, physical thing. I don't know. And there didn't seem to be any tactical adjustments. It was just bring on different players, see what happens.
Yeah.
But then there was too many poor performances everywhere. And maybe it's just one of those games where you just can't get out of your funk. I don't know. So I couldn't see our way out of it. And even at 1-0 down, okay, you could see the goal coming. It was just coming, no matter how it came. You say, right, settle down. The one thing that we sometimes do, the horseshoe of death, or just passing the ball around, is to just take the sting out of the game. And we just could not take the sting out of the game. City just didn't let us, and that's what I
felt like they were hungrier on the day, when in reality you'd think that it should have meant, and I presume it maybe did, but it means more to Arsenal, that result, I think, compared to City. On the tube on the way back, I was chatting to a City fan, and he said his son's been going to City since he was 5, and then that they kind of keep a record of every game, and the son's been, the first 300 games the son went to, he saw 12 losses.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And you just like, that's bizarre.
Not normal.
No, exactly. And I think on the day, City they've been to lots of finals. There was something to be said about kind of experience of Wembley and the occasion and the build up. A lot of the Arsenal team haven't had that, at least with us. But yeah, I felt like something was missing. And as soon as the second goal went in, and there was only 4 minutes between the two. At that point, I said, I thought to myself, unless we can scrape into extra time, I can't see us getting back into this.
Well, it would have been interesting. Again, it would have been interesting if, say, the Calafiori shot had gone in off the post rather than wide. The Jesus said 88th minute. There was only 4 minutes of added time, so not there. But it would have been interesting just to see how we would have reacted, how they would have reacted. But you're clutching at straws here, and desperation. But stupid stuff happens. But look, there's this one stat that James Benge sort of shot out at the end of the game quite soon after, is that in the second half, Arsenal failed to complete a progressive pass, which is one that advances the ball 10 plus yards outside of the back 40 yards of the pitch until the 71st minute. It just, and people say, I don't think we parked the bus. If people say, we parked the bus, tried to defend or whatever, or
we couldn't get out,
or hold on, try it. We just couldn't get out. And again, that was down to the players that we had on the pitch, because Gyökeres is not a technically secure player. Havertz is, but he then needs to lay it off to someone. Saka's just way off form. Trossard was not performing, and so it just showed that we had that lack of technical ball security, lack of confidence on the ball, and lack of options. And again, these players have been brilliant in the past. Just on the day, something just wasn't quite working. wasn't quite right, and that can happen in a one-off performance. I think we said before the game, it is a coin flip. It's 50-50 on its day. City are still a good side, and ignoring all the charges, all that and that back history, on the day they were missing 3 Guardiola, Diaz, as well. They were missing players. On the day they turned up and we didn't, and it's just simple as that. You can analyze it to an nth degree, or you can just go, just they were the better team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
and they said fair play to them. They deserve.
Yeah, they did deserve it. I couldn't see where a bit of magic was going to come from our team on the day. It just felt like everyone was a little bit under the weather, or maybe nervous, maybe exhausted. They played an absolutely huge amount of football this year. And then we're bringing in a few guys to start, so Ben and Kai, in the biggest game of the season so far, and they haven't had tons of minutes recently as well, so they're feeling a little bit less sharp, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So look, City totally deserved it. We've got to suck this up. This will hurt Arteta. This will hurt the team, and we'll see how we react. But here's another. I love my stats. From Opta Joe, that also sums up how Arsenal are this season, because it's only our fourth loss of the season in 50 games. And Arsenal's defeat to Manchester City was their first by a 2+ goal margin in 410 days. And the last time we lost by 2 or more goals was the League Cup back in February, semi-final back in February last year. So it's an anomaly, as we say. But
I think it's the first match this year we've actually deserved to lose, because the other losses, there was obviously the late free kick at Liverpool, and it's kind of similar with the other losses. No one's really taking us to the cleaners this year.
No, absolutely, and but the one, we're going to take some positive and look, okay, because one of the questions is will the manner of this defeat hurt us, and what does this mean for the rest of the season? Because the last time we got beaten, Liverpool away, Villa away, United at home, we went on 18, 12 and 14 game undefeated runs, there afterwards. So, we are very good at learning. We are very good at reacting and so on. So, do you, I think I know the word you're going to use now, but and I'm going to steal it from you. But can you compartmentalize this for the rest of the season and what we're hoping to achieve, or does the manner of this defeat maybe dent that slightly?
Yeah, I think this is quite often when Arsenal play and we're stood in the stands and the players are doing things, and I'm thinking, surely Arteta doesn't want them to do that. In this situation, how this defeat is compartmentalized by Arteta is all up to him and his coaching staff. If the players still can't compartmentalize it, I would again still look to the coaching staff. They have to put this aside. One proper defeat, I know we lost the other 3, but one defeat where you've actually been battered in 50 is amazing. It's a one-off, refocus, lots of other challenges, but the most important thing is there's nothing they can do to kind of change that result. It's gone, it's happened, learn from it. There'll be loads and loads of tactical data that the pit crew will be able to take into Arsenal, the offices and training ground for the next time we play City. Because if I was Pep, you could try and second guess yourself and not play that way, but it was so effective. Why wouldn't you play that way with that 4-2-4 again? Obviously, there'll be different players back for that result, for that fixture, which could give us different results. Hopefully, different Arsenal players and potentially some different City players, depending on their injuries. But you just have to compartmentalise it. You just get rid of it, move on. There's literally nothing we can do. I think some of those players need an arm around the shoulder. Others need a week off and a massage, and others maybe need a bit of a not talking to, but do you remember in the video, Carlos Cuesta sat down with Ben White and had that really, I don't know who the latest member of the pit crew who does that is at Arsenal now. Carlos is gone, but there's a few I think just need a chat and just kind of a talk to in a positive way, just to kind of support them, because everyone deals with defeats in different ways. Some will shout and scream, some will just go into their shells, but again, move on, get rid of it. In sports psychology, there's a thing called ready, react, refocus. So you're ready for the fixture, you react, you do it. But then regardless, refocus. Remember Wenger used to say, I don't get too excited with the wins, I don't get too gutted with the losses, just on to the next fixture. And I think that's the huge thing. The challenge for us is that we've got the guys going away. Tabs, you think this may be the first ever well-timed international break for the Arsenal?
Well, not for us fans, no, because we have to sit on this for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've got the stew, but for the players,
no. I think and look, we've heard a whole raft of players, and finally we did hope. Okay, there's been a raft of players pulling out. Now, I'd suggest that's a bit of Alex Ferguson going on for some, and for you younger listeners, it's basically, I feel something. I can't go on international duty. Let me rest at home for 2 weeks. I think there's an element of that. I think there's an element of being a bit savvy around that, because in the past we haven't, and it often happens with clubs at the top. It happens. I haven't heard about City yet, whether they've done the same thing. There are players that have to go away, and again we will talk about that. But so actually, from our point of view, maybe it is like, right, go away. And they often say sometimes international breaks, we as fans get scared shitless because we get ruined by international breaks because players come back in, But actually, sometimes international breaks, you're right, are well timed because actually they're playing only twice in 2 weeks rather than 5 times, in 2 weeks. It's a change of scenery. They love playing for their countries. It's changing mentality, and it sort of it helps them refocus to go away, do that. Now, depending on what happens with their countries, it's less stressful, less intense. It's just something different, and they can come back, and they can sometimes come back refreshed without the misfortune that we've suffered from that. So actually, I think for the players, it could be well timed. Tuchel has said he's going to give the Arsenal boys or whoever played in the final for England the time off. They don't have, well, not time off, but they won't play in the first game. And I think it could be a good break for them just because. Again, but then the other side is right. You want to get straight back in and show. I want to be playing Wednesday because that's not good enough, and we want to show who we are. But maybe that's a mental thing. But your body maybe would be saying something else. So I don't know. I mean, do you think? You sort of happy that this break is actually for once in our favour? Yeah,
some need it for rehab. I think Ebbs, depending on what's up with him, 2 weeks.
Well, they said. Well, okay. So basically, on the fact that he's having a second scan, what does that say to you?
The first scan wasn't conclusive. So they haven't.
Well, that's obvious. But in terms of if it's inconclusive,
it's not a good sign. The single scan. Oh, okay, we know what we're doing. And again, it depends what part of the calf. It depends whether it was a grade 1, grade 2, obviously it wouldn't be a grade 3 because that's complete rupture. But this could be from 2 to 6 to. Weeks.
There was rumours, internet sleuthing, 2 to 4 weeks. And the fact that they're having to wait 6 or 7 days as well. It's not like, we'll rescan him today. And I think you said in the past that you need, was it inflammation to go down, fluid to drain, whatever, so you can see it clearly. And also, do you think now after the game, like my first thing, so when it happened, it was a bit of a bizarre one. He was attacking the Leverkusen. It was a 4-v-3 or 4-v-2 for Arsenal. He was attacking, should have laid it off to Saka. He didn't. Had a shot, came back, had another shot, and it was one of those ones where the defender's foot, the ball, and the Eve's foot all hit at the same time. Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened, and he went down straight away holding his hand. And when you do that it seemed weird. But then after the game, he said, "Oh no, I feel all right." Now, is that just adrenaline, or is he just, I can't admit the truth?
Yeah, I would say adrenaline.
Right.
Well, adrenaline and potentially, you're not going to say, I think I've torn my calf. So I think maybe a bit of both. But the fact he's missed the final is not good. And again, we talk about the kind of stages of recovery and lengths of recovery for each injury. They are person specific, age specific, kind of genetic makeup specific. So the club will look at that and say, well, does he have a history of a calf? How long does his kind of grade 1s take? How long does his grade 2s take? So kind of fingers crossed. There's been Deck's. Do you remember Deck had that run in the? I think it was 2 matches ago where he went off and he kind of kicked the ball. He nearly killed someone in club level with a shot. It just kind of went like.
Yeah,
I thought that was a similar kind of thing. It's sometimes after a long, kind of not lung bursting, but after a long drive or dribble, 15, 20, 30, 40 yards, whatever, and then them having to shoot maybe a little bit off balance. Sometimes that can be a bit of an injury risk. I don't think enough's been made of, because I'm not a massive fan of Thomas Tuchel. The fact that Tuchel seems to be the first manager, at least in my understanding of it, in England at least, to have this 2-stage call-up, that's so, for me, so sensible and easy and intelligent. Obviously, he was a club manager, so he's seen it from the other side quite recently. But to do that, I think is really good, and it really helps. It really helps at least. So it was going to be just Deck and Bakaya, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's now. So Ebbs was going to be going the first week, wasn't he?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, if you want, the best thing for his England players that are playing 50, 60, 70 games this season is to have 2 weeks off. that will do more good for England. No, I'm no England fan, than him seeing them play against Uruguay or Japan. You know, that would be the best thing for it. Hey, you guys have a rest, or come and join the team and just do some light jogging, just light stuff. You need to have the activation. You can't just rest. You know, me and you both know that. Can't just do nothing. So if you're going to do something, come to the England team, be with them, but don't worry about playing. Just do the light stuff. And I think that is the best thing for them, and it's great to make sense. Look, if you've got competitive games like Sweden, like Italy, like Norway, look, then fair enough. You need to get to the World Cup. But if not, if it's just friendlies, it seems like a real sensible approach.
I don't remember back in the day, and when I was a kid, we used to follow the World Cup like it was you'd wait for years for it and it'd be huge. Has it always been the way that clubs can qualify for the World Cup this late?
No, because now you have the playoffs and everything like that. I don't recall. I wasn't so into it. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. So
it's so unfair for those fans to still not know whether I need to book my hotel, whether I need to book my accommodation, car rental, flights. It's insane, really.
Yeah. No, because they didn't have such a thing as playoffs. So you either qualified or you didn't, and stuff like that. But then the whole calendar was very different. So I really don't know. And like I said, I wasn't paying attention to football that closely back then. So there we go. But look, so going forward, we're 9 points ahead, plus 7 goal difference. With a game in hand versus Palace. Okay, so let's just call it 6 with a plus 5 goal difference for argument's sake. We play Bournemouth at home weekend on the 11th, 12th. And City play Chelsea on the that weekend. And then we play City on the 19th. I think we sort of mentioned it before. Do you think this game influences that game? Do you suddenly see? Because City were on the ropes. They as a team this season, drew against West Ham, drew against Forest, out humiliated by Real Madrid. We could have killed them off, but now they've suddenly got a bit of a life, and it's against us. So do you think, not tactically but psychologically, City will think, well, hang on, we're not so rubbish. We play them. We could bring it down to 3. The worst case scenario is, we still have, tied on games played, but 3 points to our advantage. Do you think this galvanizes City, or are they going to do what Tottenham do and have a decent one result but still poor in the league?
Yeah, I think they're too good a team to maybe drop off after this. I think for them, there's less will need to be changed for the next game. For us, if we can't rock up and play like that at the Etihad, we'll get destroyed. So for them, I think, as we were saying earlier, the tactical plan, why would you change that? Or, Pep's quite quirky, so he might say, I want to change it because they won't think we're going to change it. But that's just, that I think would be pointless, because that's an effective way to play against us. We need to work through that physically and literally, work through that back four. So their front four pressing our back four, and see how we can manage that, and whether that's managing it with better running off the ball, harder work from the players who weren't getting the ball from either Kepa or the central defenders, or whether it's going to automatically be different because we might start with Calafiori in that game. We might start with a fit Ebbs. We might have Odie back by then. For them, they would be going into that fixture more buoyed than we are, because yes they won, and we can kind of, like we said, compartmentalize it. But bottom line, it's still 2 football teams going at each other, and they won. So we took it on the chin. They won in this situation. I think we need to do more work between now and then. Hopefully, he can rotate appropriately at Southampton, and then we need.
And then we've got Bournemouth.
For Bournemouth, I obviously a friend of mine was saying, how come Arsenal didn't turn up? City turned up, and they've had some draws before that, and they lost to Madrid. My response to that was, well, they've had some draws and they've lost to Madrid, so maybe that's why they had a bit more energy, because they weren't playing well. They weren't at full pelt when we were kind of almost the other way. We've been kind of pretty solid. A lot of people are saying, Arsenal are last 10 games, we haven't really done much. We haven't really kind of hit our heights. But we're still through to the quarterfinals here. We're through to the quarterfinals on the Champions League,
Cup.
and we're still
Cup,
top of the
Champions
league.
League.
And it's it's a kind of
I think it's now coming down to individual games, because as I said, if you look at the pattern of play, Brighton wasn't great, Wolves wasn't great, Brentford wasn't great, but then this week Everton, okay, we've got left the goals late, and well done Everton, but we played really well. Leverkusen controlled, played really well and against the difficult team. So it's just the ebbs and flows of the season. And look, when you lose, you can pick holes in it, and when you win, it masks the issues. And I think this is just the way of the season, where you sort of, you need to look for underlying patterns, and you'll see it, but then game by game you will just sort of results based analysis type stuff. And I think both are right. We have been really good, we've also been really bad, and we're not consistent. And I think that's the one thing at the moment. And I think for yesterday, ultimately, I think, and these aren't excuses, I think injuries and selections killed us. Our tactics and on the day, and the performance killed us, but then City killed us, and we're just going to have to take this on board, learn from it, bounce back, and that's something, as I said, we've discovered, we've shown this season, which does take mental strength. And people calling us bottlers, well, you don't keep bouncing back with the run of wins that we've had, or not undefeated, without having mental strength. Unfortunately, until we win something, until we get over the line, we're going to have to suffer the second again tag: bottlers, nearly men, weak-minded, whatever it is. But I think there's still a huge chance, this season could be big, to change that narrative. It was weird. I never really thought we'd win the quad, even though we were favourites in all 4 competitions. It was like a 5% chance. So again, if we weren't going to win the quad, we were going to have to suffer at some point, and maybe this is it. And then we're going to reserving the huge joy for later, and revenge will be oh so sweet.
I feel like the team, it'd be interesting to look at the numbers for the whole squad year on year over the last 3 or 4 seasons to see how many games the team play. I don't know if you ever ran the 1500 meters at school and sports day, or even as a track athlete, but I always thought the people who went out first, that last lap was absolutely brutal. Weight of the world on your shoulders, your heart's pounding out your chest, you're exhausted, you're lightheaded. I kind of feel like this is almost the last lap of the 1500 meters for the season. Because whilst we say it's, and I've been talking about compartmentalized, whilst we can kind of switch between 4 tournaments in the space of 2 weeks or 10 days, the players physically can't jump between situations. They can't suddenly say, this is my Champions League body, I feel better now, this is my Prem body. They've got a calf. If the hamstrings triggering every time they run, they've still got that. So physically the guys are exhausted. And a real close friend of mine used to be the S&C guy at Prem Club, and we were talking about it, and he was just like, you get them fit and then you just hang on for the rest of the season. They can't change their fitness now. You're an athlete as well. So they're having 2 days, they're having a day rest and then maybe a day of training, and then they've got a day prep. So it's game minus 1 day. So they haven't got any time to actually do any work to kind of help these guys maintain a little bit, but not definitely not improve their fitness.
Not improve their fitness, no. Unless you've been injured and you take a step backwards, and that's it. But if you're just playing week in, week out, it's the cycle of play, rest, recover, train, that's
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, exhausted. Although one thing's worth noting as well, I don't know if you saw, but friend of the show, Ian, Ask Karen Picks, do you see what he said about the quad? He said something like, the quad is gone, the quad is here, or something. I can't remember what the tweet was, but basically he's saying we could still do a quad if Spurs get relegated.
Well, indeed, and we will get to relegation watch in a minute. I just want to leave with one thing that Arteta said, and then we'll get onto your 3-word reviews. But Arteta said, look, we have to have some perspective on it, and what this team has done in the last 8 months has been incredible. We're going to use this disappointment and this fire in the belly to have the most amazing 2 months that we've ever had together. That's on us, and we'll manage that energy in the right way. Now we have to go through the pain and disappointment. It's normal. It's part of football, and I agree. It's that's it. And I guess whatever happens at the end of the season will drive the narrative around this game. We do really well at the end of the season. This galvanized us. We don't do so well.
Yeah.
This was the beginning of the end. So let's just wait and see. Wait and see. So look, I'm going to get onto your 3-word reviews, but before I do that, just a reminder, quick favor, if you're enjoying the podcast, a nice little 5-star rating on the podcast apps, subscribe, on a YouTube channel, on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen at the Grove AFC, really appreciate it, and it does help us. We have been growing exponentially, which is nice to see, and we do appreciate it, and we do notice the difference you make and what it makes to get into the ears of others less fortunate than yourself. So any help you can do spreading the word would be very much appreciated. So thank you. So now look on to some 3-word reviews. So thank you for sending those in, even though I'm sure many of you really did not want to, and I'm sure someone said, "Can we not?" as one of their 3-word reviews, and I'm not sure whether he was talking about me or Arsenal. And as always, apologies if I mispronounce you, which I always tend to do. So I tried to pick out a few. So we had on Blue Sky, Mr. C the Gooner, not good enough. Yep. Buffalo Gooners, 1 word, bleh. Paul Warner 567, shat the bed. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Gunner Dog, looking to the future, bigger games await. Dr. Fairbod, win the league, and John B 696, Arsenal deserved that. Yeah, I think I concur with all of those. On Threads, so we had Deschamps Gil, learn something Arteta, whether that's for long term or during the game. I don't know what it is aligning to. As Wanamir 97. Now I'm not too sure whether this is sarcastic or a battle cry. Trust the process. So, there will be some people would be shouting, say, "Get lost," and some people going, "Yes, let's trust the process." But where losing to Man City 2-0 in that manner falls in the process, I'm not too sure. Yen Han 10. We move on. We do, and a couple of others looking forward. Genetra. Quadream is over, but then British Brains comes back with treble. It is Sam 13 Jaws, treble still on. Terry B's 666 is still thinking about Kepa. Arteta's keeper blunder. Hamid, we got humbled. Yeah, I'm more than happy to use that word in this instance, especially because it wasn't Haaland. And Carolina Gunner, season's not over. Indeed, it's not. Lot to play for. Classic Football Clocks on X, what came back with arse. Yeah, very good. I think all of that. And then from the Grove WhatsApp group, big reality check from Fraser and Andy Leach, who always also appears on the pod. Sentimental fucking bullshit. And there he goes. We know where you stand, Andy. And I hear you. So thank you again for those that send them through, and we do appreciate and like them. Can't read them all out because we do get quite a few, and try and pick out the best ones. So on to cheering ourselves up. Relegation watch. Now, there is a saying that goes something like, no matter how bad things are, there's always someone worse off than yourself somewhere in the world. Well, for Arsenal fans, we don't have to look too far for that. In fact, we only need to go as far as the top of the Seven Sisters Road into Middlesex to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where whilst we were losing a cup final, they were losing a relegation 6-pointer at home, 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. And the irony of all ironies was that one of the goals was scored by I've forgotten his name now. Morgan Gibbs White, that's it, who was meant to be a Tottenham player during the summer until the transfers fell through at the very last moment. So thank you, Mr. Marianakis. They are now in 17th on 30 points. Forest leapfrogged them into 16th on 32 points. They've got a -10 goal difference. West Ham, they lost to Villa, unfortunately. They're on 29 points. Now, their next game, they play Sunderland, and Wolves, and West Ham play Wolves at home. So Tottenham are away to Sunderland, West Ham are away to Wolves. We're at home to Wolves. That means come Sunday, 12th of April, Tottenham could be in the bottom 3. Jeez. Do you really think they can get relegated? Get that quadruple? The new quadruple?
Yeah, would be nice. So I was 3 the last time they were relegated, so I wouldn't have been conscious of it. I think on paper, the squad, at the beginning of the season, you wouldn't have put money on them getting relegated. However, they're on such a downward spiral again, mates across loads of different kind of WhatsApp groups and messaging, kind of talking about how bad they are, and is it too good to be true? Are they obviously they're shit, but are they just not shit enough to go down? Or I feel like I'm kind of praying for something that is too unlikely to happen. Like I would love it. I'm not an Arsenal fan who would say keep them up. I love the North London derby. Having a few years out of that, wouldn't mind. St Tottenham's Day, the first game of the season, would be hilarious. It would shut them up for a bit, wouldn't it? And they wouldn't sing Champions of Europe for a while. But I just look at their team and I think surely they're not. If you look at the individual players, forget the kind of rot in the dressing room and the crazy manager and all the other kind of stuff going on and their fans. But the squad looks too good to go down, but they just keep getting worse and worse.
Yeah, but there is that thing. Oh, they're too good to go down. But if you look at them, it's performances, momentum, and you think, they did the most Spursy thing was to beat Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, but still get knocked out. Which actually, I think their fans actually wanted. But then you're at home and you lose 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. That you just get. So if you're a serious club and you think you're too good, no, you're not too good to go down, and that's a direct rival. So that's a 6-pointer. So it's not like it's not like it's someone who's miles at the top, and okay, not that you accept it, but and they had the Liverpool result last week, and that's nuts. And there's just no, I don't think they are too good. And I think it's just there is there. I think it's more down to how what West Ham and Forest can do, but they're all terrible. And
West Ham's goal difference is -21, which is way off.
So that's like an extra point.
Yeah, but Forest is now only -12 compared to Spurs' -10, so that's only now 2. So that was a good swing. So losing was one thing, Spurs, and they also made it worse by knocking 3 off goal difference.
Yeah, nuts.
So that's getting closer. It would be hilarious, wouldn't it? And what I think's funny is the financial implications for the club as well, because they'd lose a ton of money on sponsorship deals and endorsements, and then they obviously wouldn't be able to charge the same amount for season tickets, would they?
Oh well, they've had that discation. Yeah, they put out the season ticket prices already for next season. They said, well, if you're playing Port Vale away, that's not going to happen. But or at home for that matter, no, they're just going to have to book Beyonce up for have residency at the stadium. So we'll see. But look, I wouldn't sacrifice any of our success for them to go down. So I'm not going there. It's a nice, cherry on the cake. And but with that actually, and I forgot about this question, but. Would you, focusing back on Arsenal now, would you be disappointed if we only, and I'm saying only in inverted commas, if we only won the league, given where we were up until yesterday at 4:30?
Not really, because for me, it goes league, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. And if the league is what I've been waiting for a very long time as with the rest of the Arsenal family globally. I wouldn't. This team's good enough to win more than I think just one thing this year. I think we've shown you the best team in the league, and when you kind of reel off the stats from the Prem at least, scored the most goals, conceded the least, and there's about 10 different stats that kind of just show we're the best, with literally the best team and kind of indisputable. I wouldn't be gutted, but I can see. When fans say to me they want to throw yesterday and they want to throw the game against Southampton, they're not that bothered about the Champions League because they only want to win the league. I then say, like when we were saying earlier, we want to win every game we play, but the league is the golden fleece. The league is the thing that this stadium hasn't seen us do. The league is I think tougher than the other two. So that's the one I'd always kind of aspire to. And I think. I wonder what the players think. I wonder whether the players are thinking yesterday, oh yeah, it's the 4th most important one, or whether it's just all focus. It's the next game, win. For me, so I wouldn't know. If we win the league this year, I'll be a happy guy.
And that's, maybe I'm just being greedy. It just feels we're doing so well. I guess quarterfinals. It's not like final. But it'll be interesting if we got to the final of the Champions League and the FA Cup. To see how we'd feel if we win the league but lost 3 finals in cup competitions. But let's worry about that when we because the additional FA Cup
games that would potentially get in the way would increase the fixture congestion, increase stress on a I won't say a thin squad because the squad's okay-ish, but of an out of form squad, stretch squad, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you said that we got knocked out in the semis of the FA Cup, but we won the league, I think I wouldn't necessarily mind that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. Anyway, these are like, these are privileged conversations, conversations to have, and we'll just say, as I said, that we've got 2 weeks of international break. I think we can compartmentalize this. Just stay off the socials. Just don't get involved in any rage bait. I think that we can easily do this. Yeah, let's let the players have a bit of rest, or go away with their clubs and do something different. And look, we've got a club full of international players, so I'm not going to call everyone out. But what's interesting is, like, Ben White has now been selected for England, so it seems like Ben White wasn't the problem, funny enough. So
I'm surprised with that. I'm surprised by that.
Well, he's got a 35-man squad, so pretty much if you haven't been picked, you're either not English or you're no good. So and I think because I think maybe some players have pulled out, he was like in the second tier of players coming in. But no, good for him. Have a look. I think Tuchel can recognise his quality. He's seen him, as a league player. He can recognise his quality. His versatility potentially, and hey, there's no harm in having a look. If you're having 35, 36, 40, but whatever, there's no harm having a look. I think a couple of years. So no, good for Ben, and again maybe the time away. He's maybe someone that can build a bit of fitness because he's been a bit start and stuff. You use that. Mosquera has been called up to the main squad for Spain. Good for him. The best news for me today was Gabriel Magalhaes been pulling out of Brazil squad, and not because of the Brazil play, not because 2 games, but they were playing in the US. They were going to play a friendly with France in the US and Croatia in the US. So it's like more travel. More is always Brazil with all the travel. Timber's out, obviously. Calafiori, he's got a qualifier, Italy versus Northern Ireland, so that's a proper game, but he's well rested for that. Thank you, Arteta. MLS is now with the under-21s. I think his World Cup ship has sailed, especially when you got like Nico O'Reilly doing what he did yesterday and playing regularly for City. So, but 19, his time will come. Norgaard's got World Cup playoff against North Macedonia. As an Italian fan, I know how dangerous they can be. And that also means that Haaland has got a big game. Go on, North Macedonia.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, we want them to get through this so they play another game, and then whoever they play then just kick Haaland to bits. Actually, I was thinking yesterday, could one of our subs come on and I know they don't think this. The game was gone, and just nobble Haaland. Come on, but anyway, sorry, stupid talk. Rice is going to go, but a bit later. Eze is pulled out. Saka's going to go a bit later. Madueke is playing for England.
Yeah,
Martinelli's going away. Gyökeres has got a World Cup qualifier against Ukraine. Trossard then also pulled out. Kai selected, and again, hopefully for his fitness, that would be good. And Max Dowman's with the under-19. So. Yeah, some good news. I think, as you said, I think this is going to be, hopefully, barring any mishaps, a good international break for our players who need minutes, who need fitness, who need a change of scenery. So,
and it'll be a little bit of a break for the coaching staff. Obviously, they'll still have stuff to do because some players won't go away, but it'll be slightly less. They won't have any games to kind of plan for in the same way as they like every 3 days.
Well, it'll be interesting. Like, they've got a plan for Southampton. But I wonder how the coaching, when you've got this 2 weeks, surely you can't take Southampton lightly, but surely it's Bournemouth.
Yeah.
They must be thinking about, but Saints are a bit of a bogey team, and we'll do a preview of that game later on. But yeah, I think it's right. How do we win the next 7 games in the league? How do we win the league? And the rest we'll see how it comes. So look, thank you, Mitch, for joining me. I appreciate that. And you saved the listeners from a solo pod from myself. So I think people will be forever grateful.
It's better to play 2 up front rather than 1 up front. 1 up front gets myself a bit isolated.
Absolutely. Nicely put. So thank you for that. And thank you for everyone for putting your 3-word reviews through. You can follow us at The Grove AFC on Blue Sky Threads, TikTok, Insta, on YouTube, on the Spotify, on Apple. Give us a subscribe, a like, comment. Really appreciate it. Our next pod will be later this week, and we're going to be doing another one of our Arsenal in the online community pods. Mitch himself has been one of those, where we interview people who have an online presence, who are known to many Arsenal fans. We've gone from as high as Elliot from Ars Vision podcast. We've had North Banksy, we've had She War, we had Mitch, Ian, Ask Cannon Picks. Came on, and then he's now a regular. And this week we're interviewing Laith Youssef, who is the editor of the Gooners fanzine. So Ian writes for the Gooner. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. And look, all that leaves me to say is that thank you for listening. If you made this far, an hour and 15 into a podcast talking about humbling by Man City, so well done you. Hope you managed to take something from that. I know certainly have, and that this will sting for a while. But time and winning is a great healer. And in 2 weeks' time, Arsenal will be back to winning ways, I'm sure. So enjoy your Arsenal downtime. Don't let the haters get you down. And get ready for our final push for glory. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.